Hey, bookish friends. I'm here with a cozy little Summerween episode, which is a combination of summer and Halloween. I have my ghosty kind of bookish shirt on right now, and I have my black cat here, and I'm excited to dive into some books that I'm looking forward to reading, as well as some of my recommendations to you for like Summerween kind of books. I'm always trying to find that combination of the spooky as well as the interesting storylines and books that kind of keep our attention the entire time. And whenever I find books or I get recommendations that really catch my eye, I always want to tell you guys about it. So I will be kind of flipping in this episode between books I want to read and books that I would recommend you. So grab a cozy drink, get comfy, and let's get ready for some Halloween slash summertime kind of vibes. All right. First things first, I want to dive into some like thriller scary stories that I cannot wait to read this summer. So I have three that are like on my list, either on my Kindle or they're on a list of books I would like to read. So the first one is called Good Intentions by Marisa Walz. This one, I always remember it because the cover has a red flower and a white flower, and the vines are kind of intertwined. This one, I'm pretty sure I heard reading Riley recommend. It is on Kindle Unlimited. It's also an audiobook, a hardcover, and a paperback. But I'm a Kindle Unlimited person, so a lot of these books are on Kindle Unlimited. So, Good Intentions, if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone. Good Intentions is 332 pages, and here's the description. Even the best intentions can grow into obsession. On the surface, Caddy has the perfect life. She has a thriving luxury event planning business, the man she's loved since she was 17, and a social calendar she can barely keep up with. She also has Dana, her identical twin, and her most trusted confidant. But when Dana dies suddenly before Caddy can say goodbye, everything shatters. Yet, to her family's alarm, it isn't grief that for Dana that consumes her, it's Morgan, a stranger Caddy meets in the hospital waiting room the same day, a grieving mother whose tragedy mirrors her own. Caddy doesn't, Caddy doesn't believe in coincidences. She becomes convinced that helping Morgan is the key to face her sister's death. But is that really what she wants, or is Caddy drawn to Morgan for reasons far more complicated and dangerous than she's willing to admit? Sly, twisted, and irresistibly provocative, Good Intentions explores the morally gray zones we enter when the unthinkable happens, and the deep and the dark places obsession can lead us. And that is Good Intentions by Marisa Waltz. That's one I want to read this Summerween. I like a good, fast-paced thriller, and I always want to read a book that kind of makes me think long after the story ends, and I've heard really good reviews. The next one, it's summertime. We're going to Universal. We're going to Disney. We're going to different parks. And this one I got recommended by a friend as well. And this is Fantastic Land by Mike Bockoven or Bockoven. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. So, what is this about? After a hurricane isolates a theme park, teenage employees form violent tribal groups, descending into savagery and cannibalism while cut off from technology and civilization. This sounds absolutely amazing. I like to think that like the few times I have been to Universal in the past, I think a lot about like how gated everything is, how large parks are. At night, there's little dark nooks and crannies. I also think of Divergent when they like climb up to the top of that big ride and how scary that was. So I'm excited to read about Fantastic Land. I also think that like they're isolated, so it makes me think of Lord of the Flies vibes. So I cannot wait to read this. These are just like books that I'm feeling are giving like summer vibes and also like thriller, and I'm here for that. The next one is called Last Days by Adam Nevill. I think that one of my favorite book bloggers on Instagram recommended this, and she's also on Instagram as someone who may or may not be on one of my November episodes. I have some November episodes coming up that are all witch themed. So, like, witch book recommendations from horror to romance to everything in between. So, I'm excited for those episodes. This next one, Last Days by Adam Nevill, is also on Kindle Unlimited, which we love to see. So, what is this one about? Okay. When guerrilla documentary maker Kyle Freeman is asked to shoot a film on the notorious cult known as the Temple of Last Days, it appears his prayers have been answered. The cult became a worldwide phenomenon in 1975 when there was a massacre, including the death of its infamous leader, Sister Catherine. Kyle's brief is to explore the paranormal myths surrounding an organization that became a testament to paranoia, murderous rage, and occult rituals. The shoot's locations take him to the cult's first temple in London, an abandoned farm in France, and a derelict copper mine in Arizona desert, where the Temple of the Last Days met its bloody end. But when he interviews those involved in the case, those who haven't broken their silence in decades, a series of uncanny events plague the shoots. Troubling out of body experiences, nocturnal visitations, and the sudden demise of their interviewees, and the discovery of a ghastly artifact in the room makes Kyle question what exactly it is the cult managed to awaken, and what is its interest in him. So we've got a filmmaker, we've got a cult, we've got a cult linked to the 1970s, which is interesting, and we have London, France, and Arizona as like major settings in the story. I'm so excited to read this. I love anything that is going to make me kind of wonder how it all connects, and this is definitely giving that. So I'm so excited. This is Last Days by Adam Nevill. Let me know if you want book talks on any of these stories because I am 100% open to doing that. Okay. So I also want to give a shout out to this Instagram page that I absolutely love. I recently followed them and I really like all the recommendations. This is Moonlight_book club. They had a post about Summerween, and I will have that linked in the show notes below. They had some recommendations on their posts that I didn't know about, and now I have on my TBR, and I have to share with you. So the first one is called The Lake House by Beth Durst. The cover is this woman's face, and her eyes are wiped off, like almost like paint. And you see a man standing in the shadows. So I'm excited to read this. Okay. And a lot of these books fall around 300 pages to 500. Some of them are short story collections, so some of them are very short, and I will let you know. I own some of the books physically, and for the ones that I don't, I'll just be verbally telling you now. Okay. So what is The Lake House about by Beth Durst? Okay. Claire's grown up, triple checking locks, counting her steps, second guessing every decision. It's just how she's wired. Her worst case scenarios never actually come true until she arrives at an off grid summer camp to find a blackened, burned husk instead of a lodge, and no survivors except for her and two late arrivals, Riva and Mariana. When the three girls find a dead body in the woods, they realize that none of this is an accident. Something is haunting them, something that hides in the shadows, something that refuses to leave, let them leave. And that is The Lake House by Beth Durst. This looks amazing. I love a good like setting where you're in the woods when it's only like three girls. I love a cast just full of women. I'm here for it. I'm so excited. Next, this is Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith. Everyone knows I love a little bit of a mixed media. I love found footage. I love movie casts. I love anything that is combining horror and scary movie vibes. So what is this about? Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith is about a former star of a horror movie called Grad Night. I love it. Returns to the original set for a reunion documentary, only to find that castmates are being murdered like their characters in the film. Ooh, I'm a visual reader, so this sounds like something that if I read, I can imagine it directly in my mind. Why is it kind of giving me vibes of like The Blackening, where like you're trying to avoid certain tropes you see in horror movies while you are yourself in the horror movie? I hope it's kind of meta like that, but still scary. This sounds amazing. So this is Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith. Oh, I can't wait to read that. The next one is by a pretty well-known author. This is by Simone St. James. It's called Murder Road. I don't think I've read anything by this author, but I've always wanted to. So, what is this about? A honeymoon takes a dark turn when newlyweds help a bleeding hitchhiker on Atticus Lane, becoming suspects in a supernatural murder while uncovering the town's sinister secrets. I do know this author tends to do things related to like spooky true crime elements, but also has paranormal. And I do like that combination. So I'm looking forward to reading this as well. So thank you so much to the Instagram page, Moonlight_book club, because your post was amazing. And I did find these three wonderful recommendations. And I just had to give you a shout out and your credit. So definitely check out the original post below because I loved the recommendations they had. Next, as we're going down the list, I have some books on my Kindle. It's currently in my purse, but I have some books on my Kindle that I cannot wait to read. These are Summerween dark romances with spooky elements by Black authors. Okay, both of these I'm currently reading and I'm really enjoying. The first one is called Tangled at the Root by Viano Oniomoh. I hope I'm not saying that incorrectly. But this book immediately caught my eye, and I generally just could not wait to read it. And it's Black and it's queer, and I love to see that. So it's also only 243 pages, which we love to see. Sorry if you hear yelling in the background. My family's watching FIFA. Okay, so what is this book about? So, Tangled at the Root is about instead of a home in need of cleansing, Rosemary finds a closed off ex best friend, insisting she hadn't called her and demanding she leave. The last thing Guinevere, I always say, I think I say names wrong. The last thing Guinevere wants is her best friend poking her nose where it doesn't belong and making Guinevere hunger for things that she can't let herself want. Then something in the old house traps them inside. Danger and proximity lead to buried, unaddressed feelings resurfacing, along with the reveal of a few shocking secrets. What happens when your ex best friend has the overwhelming urge to unalive you? Ooh. Worse, what happens when you want to let her? Ooh, all I'm gonna say is that I've really been enjoying this book so far. I love a good dark romance where it has spicy moments, but it also has sweet, tender moments, and like maybe it's set during in a haunted house. I really, really like that during like Halloween or Summerween. So this is definitely giving that, and I have been enjoying it. I don't want to spoil anything, but I've really been having a good time. Next, the next book that I want to recommend that is by a Black author and it's got a dark romance element. It's a little bit paranormal. Is A Hemorrhage of Us by Rosyln Reed. I found this author on Instagram and I'm so glad I did because their story immediately pulled me in. So, what is a Hemorrhage of Us about? A woman returns to her haunted hometown where she forms a dangerous supernatural bond with Hawthorne, a forest entity leading to a monstrous, destructive romance. This is also on Kindle Unlimited, and it's just chef's kiss. It's amazing. It's so good. If you've ever wanted to read a story that gives you the vibes of the MMC from True Blood Alcide, just the intensity of that, you're definitely getting this from Hemorrhage of Us. And you also get a Black lead, which we love to see. And it was only recently released in December of last year, which we love to see. It was like brand new. So those are two Summerween dark romances with spooky elements by Black authors I really wanted to highlight. And that is not the last of the romance dark like vibes that I have. Those are just two queer ones I wanted to recommend. I also have an honorable mention that I cannot wait to read. I have heard it compared to X-Files meets Southern Gothic, and we love to see that. This one also was recently published. So this is The Monsters We Made. It's also Sapphic. It's by Peyton June. So what is it about? After fabricating evidence of a cryptid called Old Lucky, a local teen joins forces with a visiting vlogger to investigate mysterious events plaguing their rural community. Ooh, I'm so excited to read this. Oh my gosh. The cover also pulled me in because it has like a farmhouse and like red light emanating from it. And then these like dark, tangled like corn husks and two girls like looking at each other. It's giving. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into this story. To save her family's struggling ranch, 18-year-old Claire fabricates a video of her hometown's legendary alien cryptid, Old Lucky, that grabs the attention of paranormal vloggers Lenny and Evan. Lenny is plagued with doubts about their channel's future, so catching Old Lucky might just be her chance at finding something real. After Evan deserts Lenny, believing the investigation to be a hoax, Claire agrees to help Lenny uncover the history of Old Lucky, this like alien cryptid, I suppose. And um, preserve her deceit. But the more the girls are drawn together, the more clues they unearth, and the more secrets rise to the surface. The cows are being mutilated, the ranch hand has disappeared, and the strange lights in the sky are back. Something inhuman lurks in Scarberry, where danger lives close to home. The Monsters We Made is an eerie, suspenseful exploration of one town's dark history and the people who brought it back to life. I'm so excited to read this. This is from the same author who released a book that has also been on my TBR forever, and that's Bad Creek. So I cannot wait to read that. Bad Creek is about three friends who investigate their town's sinister history after one of the friends' sisters passes away. She drowns, and her ghost begins to haunt one of them. And this is also a debut. Bad Creek was the debut, and then the author ended up writing their new book, The Monsters We Made, which I'm so excited to read as well. So those are just the vibes. Okay, next are some books that I physically own that I cannot wait to read this summer, and they definitely give Summerween vibes. I've been saving them for this season. So first things first, I have a whole little book stack here. The first one is going to be Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. This is giving IKEA meets spooky, spooky vibes, which we love to see. For anyone who's ever been in IKEA, it definitely does give open, scary spaces. Even though I'm not afraid of liminal spaces, I don't like when the lights go out and you think you see a person, but it's really just a chair with a blanket. I don't like that. So I'm excited to read this. I also really enjoyed the film The Backrooms recently, so I'm hoping this gives me an homage and like creepy elements to that. So, what is Horror Store about? I also want to say I got a physical copy used forever ago because I know that there are like images inside the book that are super, super creepy, and I like that. So, we're going to give this a try. Something strange is happening at the Orsk Furniture Superstore in Cleveland, Ohio. Every morning, employees arrive to find broken, curging bookshelves, shattered glance water goblets, and smashed Lurpip wardrobes. Sales are down, security cameras reveal nothing, and store managers are panicking. To unravel the mystery, three employees volunteer to work a 9 hour dusk till dawn shift. Absolutely not. In the end of the night, they'll patrol the empty showroom floor and investigate strange sights and sounds and encounter horrors that defy the imagination. A traditional haunted house story is thoroughly contemporary setting. Horrorstor is designed to retain its luster and natural appearance for a lifetime of use. Pleasingly proportioned with generous French flaps and soft cover binding, Horrorstor delivers the psychological terror you need in an elegant package you deserve. And also inside the book, it gives you like a map of the store, which is super fun. So I like to see that. I also love that it's like a paperback because I really enjoy being able to like wiggle it around, put it in my bag. I'm also going on a trip soon, so I want to bring it with me on the flight. So that was one book that I wanted to recommend. Let me grab the rest of the stack. Okay. Whew. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Thank God we're cozy. Okay, next. My next book choice in this little stack is one that I thought would be really good for summertime because it's set on a beach, but I also thought it would be good for Summerween because it's a creature feature. And I love a good creature feature. This is also the same author who wrote The Honeys, which I thought was amazing for Summerween. It's set at a summer camp. There's grief involved. There's a main character who's LGBTQIA plus. We have a first chapter that literally grabs you right away. So honorable mention, definitely check out The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. That book was amazing. I read that like 2 years ago and I still think about it. It's very trippy. Think occult, think like Heather's vibes, where the like his sister who passed away, the sister's friends are at the summer camp and they are literally horrible. But there's a mystery there. So The Honeys was amazing. But the one I'm recommending today for Summerween is The Dead of Summer by Ryan LaSala. This one, go in blind. It was absolutely amazing. Go in blind. Read it at the beach if you're brave. It was so creepy. So, what is this book about? Let's dive right into it. I read this a while ago, so I am going to read the description because I don't have the best memory with books that I've read more than a few months ago. 2 days before, Ollie Veltman is finally coming home to the quaint island of Anchor's Mercy after a year away while his mom battled cancer. It should be a celebration. His mom is cancer free, and she's determined to have the best summer ever. But Ollie's now ex best friends think he abandoned them, and he's returning with a lot of questions. Because for a place that's perfect on the surface, secrets rot beneath the waves. A secret that could explain his mom's illness, the illness of so many other locals. Ollie's desperate search for truth turns life or death when a storm descends upon the island in its wake. A long sunken horror rises 3 weeks later. So you've got a time jump. Ollie's being held in isolation aboard a military hospital ship in the harbor. They say he's a survivor, but they only know half the story. The truth is more monstrous than Ollie ever believed. He suspects his saviors aren't here to save anyone. Only Ollie can stop what's coming, but that means getting back to Anchor's Mercy before it vanishes, taking with it everyone he's ever loved. And that is The Dead of Summer by Ryan LaSala. Like I said, check out The Honeys. That was amazing. And then check out The Dead of Summer. You could read them both. You don't have to read one before the other, but they are absolutely wonderful and I highly recommend. It creeped me out so bad in like the best way. Following up with like LGBTQIA plus characters in horror, this one's short and sweet, and it's perfect for the zombie lovers out there. I'm thinking Walking Dead. I'm thinking Warm Bodies. That is The Z Word by Lindsay King Miller. This one's incredibly short. I think this comes out to around 250 pages. This is perfect for folks who love the L word, who love like monster zombie stories. If you like tight spaces and like creepy entities following you while you're also just trying to fall in love or like get hook up, this is the book for you. So, what is the Z Word about? Chaotic bisexual Wendy is trying to find her place in the queer community of San Lazaro, Arizona after a bad breakup, which is particularly difficult because her ex is hooking up with some of her friends. And when the people around them start to turn into violent, terrifying, mindless husks, well, that makes things harder, especially since the infection seems to be spreading. Now, Wendy and her friends and frenemies, drag queen Logan, Silver Fox Bo, sword lesbian Aurelia, and her wife Sam, a mysterious pizza delivery stoner, Sunshine, and oh yeah, Wendy's ex-girlfriend Leah, have to team up to stay alive, save Pride, and track the zombie outbreak to its shocking source. Hopefully, without killing each other first. Packed with action, humor, spice, and big gay feelings, the Z Word is the queer zombie romp you didn't know you needed. This is absolutely perfect for Summerween, especially because Pride is literally this month in June. And I know when this episode comes out, it'll be July, but Pride is year round, okay? And who doesn't love horror, queerness, and zombies all at once? It's amazing. And I cannot wait for you all to read The Z Word. It's amazing. And I will have all the books that I'm like mentioning now linked in the show notes below. Okay, what's next? This one is a classic, very Lovecraftian, without the racism, haunted house. I say Lovecraftian because there's certain elements of the house that definitely give like monster house. You've got teeth. You've got areas that shouldn't make sense. You've got mazes. You've got a sense of this intense, all-consuming property that has a life of its own. So if you like Monster House and you like sprinkles of it, where you've got like kids involved and a neighborhood and lore that spans years and years, then this one is for you. And this is The Place They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. I have a few pages annotated because it was just that haunting. And I read through this pretty quickly. I read this in like a weekend. It was absolutely amazing. So if you like haunted house, multiple POV from like people inside of a neighborhood, very suburban, but this house is like dark and creepy and ominous. If you like a missing sibling and a mystery, hurt, generational grief, summertime and kids on the block, and a house that literally has a reputation, read this right now. It is amazing. It is amazing. It is so, so good. So, what is this about? It was only a dare. On an otherwise ordinary street in Chicago, there is a house, an abandoned house, where once upon a time terrible things happened. The children who live on this block are told by their parents to stay away from that house. But of course, children don't listen. Children think it's fun to be scared, to dare each other to go inside. Jessica Campanelli did what many older sisters do and dared her little brother Paul. But unlike the other little kids who went inside that abandoned house, Paul didn't return. His two friends, Jake and Richie, said that the house ate Paul. Of course, adults didn't believe that. Adults never believe what kids say. They thought someone kidnapped Paul or hurt him. They thought Paul had vanished in a way that was ordinary, explainable. The disappearance of her little brother broke Jesse's family apart in ways that would never be repaired. Jessie grew up, had a child of her own, and kept living on the same street where the house that ate her brother sat, crouching, waiting. And the darkness seems to spread out from that house, a darkness that was alive, alive and hungry. And that is The Place Where They Buried Your Heart by Christina Henry. I really, really loved this. It was a hard read as an older sister who adores her little brothers, but I will say that there's a very heartwarming moment later in the story, and it doesn't resolve any of the grief or pain, but it does link to that Lovecraftian, otherworldly, spooky element, and that there is sometimes light at the end of the tunnel, and there's a beauty to loving someone forever. So this was absolutely amazing. The Place Where They Buried Your Heart is a great haunted house story, and it was just great. Okay, speaking of haunted houses, how about we dwindle it down not to a haunted house, but to a haunted hotel room? So I have one that everyone has heard me talk about. I've had the author on the podcast because They are absolutely a genius and amazing. Shout out to this author. I just have so much respect for them and everything that they do, and I always hope they're well. And outside of knowing this author through the podcast, I also just say this story is one of my favorite haunted tales. Not only about a haunted hotel room, but also about the haunting of grief, the haunting of the land and the memories that happen on land. This also has indigenous representation, is from an indigenous author, and that is The Haunting of Room 904 by Erica T. Worth. This book is amazing. I wish everyone would read this book. You can read it year round, but it just hits different during autumn or during Summerween. And I highly, highly recommend it. Definitely check out my episode with Erica T. Worth from the podcast, either on YouTube or Spotify. We dive into their inspiration for the story along with many others. But let's dive into The Haunting of Room 904. Olivia, and I don't mean to say their last name wrong, I'm so sorry. Olivia Becknett was never supposed to have the gift. The ability to commune with the dead was a specialty for her sister Niche. But when Niche died unexpectedly under strange circumstances, somehow Olivia suddenly couldn't stop seeing and hearing from spirits. A few years later, she is the most in demand paranormal investigator in Denver. She's good at her job, but the loss of Niche haunts her. That's when she hears from the Brown Place, a landmark Denver hotel. The owner can't explain it, but every few years, a woman is found unalived in room 904, no matter what room she is checked in the night before. Past and present collide as Olivia tries to understand these disturbing deaths, and her investigation forces her to confront a mysterious and possibly dangerous cult, a vindictive journalist, betrayal by her best friends, and a shocking revelation about her sister's secret life. The Haunting Room of 904 is a paranormal thriller as edgy as it is heartfelt that simmers with intensity and longing. Erica T. Worth lives up to her reputation, a gritty, new, punkish outsider voice in American horror. And that is The Haunting of Room 904. Y'all, you have to read this. Like, yes, the haunting of a house is terrifying, but imagine checking into your hotel room and waking up and now you're in a haunted hotel room. That is horrific. That is so scary. And a woman is screaming at you in the mirror. Terrifying. This is so, so, so good. Okay. Next is this is a book that I want to read. I read one book by this author last year, and it ended up being one of my top three favorite books of the year. So the stakes are high. I got this book for my birthday last year. I've been saving it for autumn of this year, and I'm just so excited. I love Black voices in horror, and this author apparently never disappoints. And with the book that I read, I have high hopes. And that is White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is another haunted house. We've obviously got an amazing Black women main character at the heart of it. And I want to see how this author dives into a haunted house because her writing to me is so visceral. So let's read about what White Smoke is about. You won't be staying here long. I'll make very sure of that. Marigold and her newly blended family moved to the embattled city of Cedarville. Mary thinks this might be the fresh start she needs, but the renovated picture-perfect home on Maple Street, sitting between dilapidated houses surrounded by weary neighbors, has its secrets. And secrets always find their way through the cracks. I heard someone say this actually deeply terrified them, and I got high hopes. I love a good haunted house, so I'm excited to read White Smoke. I was tempted to put a certain book by Johnny Compton on this list since we're discussing haunted houses, but I did an entire episode about Spite House. And I have a very fun interview with Johnny Compton, the author, coming up in October. So I'm not going to add Spite House to this Summerween list, but I do have another recommendation, of course, from Johnny Compton on this list because he deserves to be here. He's amazing. But I own this next book. It's in storage, but it's deep in the boxes. But it's one of my favorite horror books, and I'm interviewing this author as well very soon. And their episode's coming out in October. This book is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. This book was a debut. It's one of the best debuts I've ever read. It is up there with Spite House for me. They're both amazing. Erin E. Adams to me gives me the same dread and heart-pounding intensity as Johnny Compton does with his stories. They're both like intense movies, and I love it. Jackal, the best way I can describe it, it's horror, it's a creature feature, it links to racism, it links to isolation, it's a summer wedding that leads to a missing child in the woods. There's a lot going on. So, what is Jackal about? I'm trying to describe it without spoiling it because it's one of the best first chapters of a horror book I've ever read. And that's why it blows my mind that this is it's a debut. It's her first book and it's amazing. At 328 pages, what is Jackal about? Ugh, I don't want to spoil it. It's just so good. Okay. It's watching. Liz Rocher is coming home. Reluctantly, as a Black woman, Liz doesn't exactly have fond memories of Jonestown, Pennsylvania, a predominantly white town, but her best friend is getting married, so she braces herself for a weekend of awkward, passive aggressive reunions. Liz has grown, though. She can handle whatever awaits her. But on the night of the wedding, somewhere between dancing and dessert, the newlywed's daughter, Caroline, disappears. The only thing left behind is a piece of white fabric covered in blood. It's taking. As frantic search begins with the police combing trees for Caroline, Liz is the only one who notices a pattern. A summer night, a missing girl, a party in the woods. She's seen this before. Keisha Woodson, the only other Black girl in Liz's high school, walked into the woods with a mysterious man and was later found in her chest cavity, ripped open and her heart removed. Liz shudders at the thought that it could have been her. And now, with Caroline missing, it can't be a coincidence. As Liv starts to dig through the town's history, she uncovers the horrifying secret about the place she once called home. Children have been going missing in the woods for years, all of them Black, all of them girls. It's your turn. With the evil in the forest creeping closer, Liz knows what she must do: find Caroline or be entirely consumed by the darkness. And that is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. That is one of my favorite books of all time. I'm so sad that I don't have it in my hands because I would happily reread it. It's deeply chilling and it's just perfect for Summerween because you've got parties, woods, and you've also got the creeping entity watching you. It's amazing and it'll just get you right in the heart, literally. So check out Jackal by Erin E. Adams. It's absolutely wonderful. Next, what is the next book on my list? Well. Everyone is talking about it, and I have to jump on this hype bus because I need it. I also absolutely adore this author's work, so I just had to grab the next book that they released, and this is Kylie Lee Baker's Japanese Gothic. I also got an edition from Aardvark, so the cover's pretty, y'all. For folks listening on Spotify, the cover is a gradient like red with silver swords crossing amongst like a flowy, beautiful black cloud over a beautiful haunted house. I love it. And the back it says the way of the samurai is found in death. And it's got a little skeleton. Oh, I'm so excited to read this. Oh my gosh. But also because I like a dual timeline. I like a haunted setting or haunted people. I just like the vibes of this concept of we shouldn't be in the same place, but we are. I don't know. I've always been looking for a book that gives me the same dread and intense speed as Nothing But Black and Teeth, and I'm hoping that this does that. Okay, next. In this lyrical, wildly innovative horror novel interwoven with Japanese mythology, two people living centuries apart discover a door between their worlds. October 2026. Ooh, we love to see it. Lee Turner doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. The details are blurred and bloody. All he knows is he has to flee New York and go to the one place that might offer refuge: his father's new home in Japan, a house hidden by sword ferns and wild ginger. But something is terribly wrong with the house. No animals will go near it. The bedroom window isn't always a window, and a woman with a sword appears in their yard when night falls. Ooh, okay. October 1877. Let me adjust this, y'all, so you can see the bookshelves. Yeah. October 1877. Sen is a young samurai in exile, hiding from imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword ferns. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face. But I'm so sorry if I say this character's name wrong. But Sen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen: a young foreign man who appears outside her window. One of these people is a ghost. One of these stories is a lie. Something is hiding beneath the house of sword ferns, and Lee and Sen will soon wish they had never unburied it. And that is Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. When I tell you I'm just so excited to read this, like I need a book that is going to like stay in my mind forever. I want to be like heavily impacted after I read it. I don't want to stop thinking about it. And I cannot wait to read Japanese Gothic. Okay. So that was another book on my list of books that I just cannot wait to read this summer that is giving like haunted setting. So the next one is a anthology and short story collections that I want to recommend that are perfect for Summerween. So the first one is on my Kindle and it's Monstrous Domesticity by R.J. Joseph. It's four short stories. It's by a Black author. It's haunted or like creepy stories linked to motherhood, which is fun for folks who are friends and like are really big fans of Hereditary, who are really big fans of the film Us by Jordan Peele. This collection reminded me a lot of those movies. So I hope that you enjoy this short story collection. It's chilling. And I also kind of, when I was reading the short stories, it made me think of the mom from Coraline at certain moments. So I hope y'all check that out. The description on Amazon is also very short. So it keeps it very vague, which I like when I'm about to read a horror story. So, okay, what is this about? Yeah, the description isn't even on there on Amazon. Yeah, I remember it was literally like three sentences. Okay. Warm and cozy feelings of maternal and all things domestic, closest to hearth and home, with only faint whispers of the dark and horrific underbelly, the things inside the home that aren't spoken of. Monstrous domesticity. I cannot wait for y'all to read this book because I'm also having the author RJ Joseph on the podcast to discuss their new horror anthology coming up later this year. So I'm excited to kind of dive a little bit into that. But before I do, I just want to give you guys a description of that upcoming book. So the upcoming book coming out later this year that I'm excited to interview RJ Joseph about is another anthology that I want to recommend to everyone. Get your pre-orders now. It comes out July 15th of this year. And that is My Monsters Ain't Like Yours, a collection of short stories. Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be 244 pages. So that is going to be an amazing short story collection. I'm beyond excited. Black feminist intersectional horror at its rawest. At its core, the horror genre is an effective vehicle for exploring human behavior. From within its terrifying boundaries and lack thereof, we can examine the monstrosity. We can determine how monsters are labeled, analyze the actions of their deemed monstrous actions, and prophecy the impacts its labeling actions on the world around us. Monsters are personal, monsters are universal. These facts create an intriguing juxtaposition where things are deemed monstrous or frightening that can be shaped by personal experiences, while also representing many aspects of human condition. Our fears are more similar than dissimilar. This means my monsters are absolutely like yours. There are collective monsters. My monsters ain't like yours reflects the irony through Black feminist intersectional horror at its rawest. And that is coming out July 15th, 2026. My Monsters Ain't Like Yours by R.J. Joseph. So I'm actually having the author on the podcast hopefully soon so we can discuss a little bit about what inspired that story. So keep an eye out on my Instagram because that is going to be so, so fun. Everyone knows, everyone knows the next few books that I'll be talking about that are short stories or anthologies because all I do is talk about them. So, to no one's surprise, the next few books in my little book stack are ones I talk about literally all the time. And the first one that I want to mention is one of my all-time favorite books ever, and I'm hoping I can interview someone from this collection one day, is The Black Girl Survives in this one by Desiree S. Evans and Suricha J. Furnell. I have this annotated like crazy. I try to read it every autumn. I love it so, so much. And I'm not going to dive too deep into this collection because everyone should read it ASAP, but I will read the blurb inside and then I'm going to tell you about my favorite short stories inside of the collection. Okay. Be warned, dear reader, the Black girls survive in this one. Celebrating a new generation of essential Black writers, from best-selling authors to breakout stars, the Black girl survives in this one makes space for Black girls in horror. 15 chilling and thought-provoking stories place Black girls front and center as heroes, survivors who slay monsters, both human and supernatural, battle spirits, and face down death. From slashers to space horror, to ghosts to stories about reimaginings of folktales. This collection taps into a rich history of cultural folklore, campfire traditions, while leaning into the nostalgia of beloved 90s horror. Except this time, the final girls are black. Prepare to be terrified, left breathless by the expansive and thrilling pieces in this anthology. And that is The Black Girl Survives in this one. This is my baby. I love this book so, so much. It's up there with Jackal for me. Like, I will never stop talking about this. So, what are some of my favorite books from this collection, or like short stories from this collection? This is The Black Girl Nature Group by Mika Mollett and Marisa Mollett. I loved that book. Or I love that short story in this collection. Cemetery Dance Party by Sricha J. Fennell is another one of my favorites. The Skittering Thing by Monica Brachers. Those are some of my favorite stories inside this collection. There was another one as well that I really loved, where it's about like the brides of like the Devil's Bayou. I also loved that short story. This is one of my favorite anthologies of all time. And I just want everyone to read it. I want everyone to read it at some point. It's so good. And I'm a huge scaredy cat, and I had a great time. Next, a book that I talk about here and there. If you know me, you know I love it, and I'm a huge fan of this author. This will be a surprise to no one, is Midnight Somewhere by Johnny Compton. I was recently rereading it for our interview. This collection is absolutely divine. If you've read all of his books, grab this short story collection because it will satiate you till his next story. So, what is Midnight Somewhere about? A man gets into a car that can take him anywhere he can imagine, including the past, into the worst mistake of his life, a memory he does not want to relive, cannot escape, and is even more afraid to alter. A seemingly harmless, forgettable film about alien hand syndrome inspires a wave of self harm among viewers, and even stranger things among those who become obsessed with it. A woman tries to bring her dead lover to life through a macabre ritual that requires attacking his corpse. Is it because she longs to be with him again, or because the two of them have unfinished business? I loved that one. The assorted characters in this thrilling collection encounter horrors that range from mysterious to murders, discovering that the darkness can find anyone, anywhere, at any hour of the day. After all, it's always midnight somewhere. And that is Midnight Somewhere by Johnny Compton. Spite House will always be a personal favorite for mine, but I love all of his work, and I don't know. I just want to read everything he writes. He's pretty great like that. Next, a horror anthology that I want to share is one that I got from Aardvark. The moment that I heard that certain authors were in this collection, I had to get it right away. Stephen Graham Jones, Rachel Harrison, S.A. Barnes, C.J. Lead, Kylie Lee Baker, Del Senden, and Kay Kroshner. I had to get it. And that is One Bad Night and Other Stories. This is a horror anthology through Aardvark. I literally signed up for Aardvark just to get this. I cannot wait to read it during Halloween. I remember I read through Rachel Harrison's short story, and now I'm just going to reread it from the very beginning. I also read the first short story in this collection, which was like set in an isolated island. It was definitely giving me the vibes of that new Apple TV series, The Observers of the Slaughter Rites on Gannett Island. That short story reminds me a lot of that new series on um Apple TV, where apparently it's like a creepy isolated island and they can't get off. This reminds me a little bit of that. It also reminded me a little bit of oh my gosh, not Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass. That short story reminded me a little bit of Midnight Mass in the sense of like isolation and the power of religion. Oh, it's very interesting. So, what is this short story collection, One Bad Night and Other Stories, about? And the two observers of the slaughter rites on Gannett Island, the one I was just talking about, an anthropologist and his wife travel to the remote island of Gannett Island to observe a mysterious yearly ritual. In My Lithiopia, a woman learns she has an unborn twin sister extracted as a stone baby. Oh, I remember that one. During her late mother's autopsy and decides to keep it. In Lady Jawbone, Lilo is trapped working inside a nightmarish phosphorus match factory when a strange new arrival offers her a way out. A Necromancer's Guide to Reconnecting with an Ex. I know you know who that's by. A ghost of Roxanne's rock and roll ex asks her to resurrect him, forcing her to confront what it means to truly let go. In Red Tide, a woman running from her past finds work at a small aquarium, where she encounters a specterfish, a carnivorous mer creature of local lore. In 47 Pineview Way, an anxious mother drops off her son at the first sleepover, but the next morning, the house where she left him has disappeared. A meditation on the existence of certain cutlery, There Is No Spoon. Commander, ooh, my name just got so stuffy. I'm sorry, y'all. Commander Jana Field is on a covert mission to the lunar South Pole, or is she? And one bad night, Steck, an aging, lonely man, becomes fixated on a sinister green parrot after he seems to predict the death of his beloved dog. And that is One Bad Night and Other Stories from Aardvark. I loved the first two stories. I loved Rachel Harrison's story as well later on. So I cannot wait to continue reading that one. I like anthologies as well because you can hop in and out. You don't always have to read every single short story all at once. You can kind of dip in, dip out. Some of these stories, though, you can't do that. You just have to like power through because they're so good. Which leads me to a short story collection that it's close to my heart. I absolutely love it. It's so, so good, and that is Bad Dolls by Rachel Harrison for Dark Tales. I really liked a short story in this collection about a magic 8 ball that is very sassy. But it was spooky because it knew certain things going on in this main character's life, but it also like corrected her on certain decisions she was going to make before she made them, which I thought was very interesting. And if you look at the cover of the book, for folks who are listening on Spotify, it's a doll holding items from the story. Like it's holding a little demon stuffed animal, the little super 8 ball, and the spilled glass of wine. Each little element ties to a short story in the collection, which I love. I love a cover that links to the actual short stories. I love that. So, what are these short stories about? In this stunning collection of horror short stories, award winning author Rachel Harrison explores the themes of body image, female friendship, heartbreak, and the hauntings of her trademark humor and insight. An indecisive young woman finds a mysterious magic 8 ball that might just have the answer she's been looking for, or it might lead her down a path of self destruction. A bridesmaid attends her childhood best friend's bachelorette weekend only to discover the itinerary may demand more than she's willing to sacrifice. An unusually brutal dieting app wreaks havoc on the life of a timid, insecure woman preparing to attend her ex's wedding. After the death of her younger sister, a wayward young woman comes into possession of a strange porcelain doll that could offer a connection to her lost sister, but could also be pure evil. And that is Bad Dolls by Rachel Harrison. I love this collection. And I also loved Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I had a great time with Play Nice. And I'm looking forward to reading. I own 2 more of her books. I think I only need 1 more. But each one of her stories just gets me right in my heart. I always end up crying. And then I always end up getting scared as well. So she just gets me my feelings every time. And then the last horror anthology that I want to mention is one that I save the best for last because I talk about it all of the time, and that is Never Whistle at Night. This is an Indigenous dark fictional anthology. It's perfect for summertime. It's absolutely perfect. It's wonderful. And I also cannot wait for volume number 2, Never Whistle at Night Back for Blood. I had the chance to interview Shane and Theodore, the editors for this collection, who are also featured in this collection. We talked about volume 2 coming out, and that episode's coming out in October. So I'm excited for that. I cannot wait for y'all to hear it. They were so cool. They were so nice. And I have a lot of favorite short stories in this collection, but the one that obviously I cannot stop thinking about and I have a personal connection to because the author just deeply inspires me has to be Kashtuka by Mathilda Zeller. That one is one of my favorites, and that's actually the first short story in the collection. But also I think I just love this entire anthology so much. The audiobook I've listened to so many times. I had to buy a physical copy because I was always listening to it, and I cannot wait to annotate this. So yeah, this is one of my favorite horror anthologies, and it's perfect for summertime. All right, next. Can't wait to read horror comic. That would be The Skin You're In by Ashley Robin Franklin. This is one that I don't physically own yet, but I cannot wait to read because I've read something else by this author before and I really enjoyed it. It was a few years ago, but I remember that her books have always been on the back of my mind and I have wanted to read this one for a while. So, what is The Skin You're In, a collection of horror comics about? Within these pages, Ashley Robin Franklin leads you through the corridors of the uncanny in 8 horror comics that are just begging to get under your skin. Ooh. Whether set in the arid desert or on the rain-soaked forest, these stories reveal the fallibilities of flesh that lurk just beneath the surface. A strange desert flower offers an intoxicating balm to grief. A group of friends invoke an old tale by the campfire. An outside remote farmhouse, something miraculous and terrible falls from the night sky. Bodies are found, lost, celebrated, borrowed, haunted, and irrevocably changed. The Skinner Inn is a definitive collection of Ashley Robin Franklin's horror comics, showcasing her skillful exploration of queer horror, yes, and the ways in which our bodies, relationships, and the environments affect us straight to the bone. The book collections all her previous published work, such as 1 Million Tiny Fires and Fruiting Bodies, as well as five never seen comics, including the 100-page graphic novel novella contest winner. It's all packaged in the deluxe fabric bound hardcover with foil accents. Just be warned, you might want to read this collection with the lights on. guys, guys, I want this book so dilly dang bad. I want it so so bad. I might end up just going in for the plunge at some point this summer because I want to read it and I adore a good comic. Especially one that's spooky. So that's 100% on my mind, and that is a comic collection called The Skinner Inn by Ashley Robin Franklin. So next, short story collections coming soon. I mentioned The Monsters Ain't Like Yours by R.J. Joseph, and we're gonna have them on the podcast very soon. The next short story collection I cannot wait to read, and it's not out yet, is coming out September 22nd of this year, and it's called Sometimes I Scare Myself by Geneva Rose. You may know Geneva Rose from thrillers. I read a few of hers in the past. I usually read them as audiobooks. She wrote The Perfect Divorce. She wrote The Perfect Marriage. She wrote Home is Where the Bodies Are. And she also wrote One of Us is Dead, which is one of my favorite audiobooks. But this one, Sometimes I Scare Myself, is a collection of horror. And I really like the way that Geneva Rose writes women and a good twist. And I'm excited to see what's going on in this collection and if she continues that pattern. So Sometimes I Scare Myself. Like I said, it has not come out yet. It comes out Tuesday, September 22nd this year. So what is it about? It's 288 pages. Not all nightmares come from sleep. Some come from the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Geneva Rose. Three horror stories: a dinner party, a quiet house, a roadside stop. You'll recognize the setup. You won't recognize what comes next. Ooh, I like this. Okay. So I also gives the descriptions of the titles of these short stories in the little description. Never Kill the Medium. A 13th birthday party dinner turns deadly after someone hires a medium for a playful seance. When the ritual spirals out of control and the medium dies, the guests cover it up, unaware that leaving a seance unfinished has allowed something deep, darker to cross over. The Nightmare House. The Dalton family moves into what they believe is their forever home. In the quiet town of Tillington, until the house whispers, the neighbors watch, and no one believes the one person who knows something is wrong. Newly postpartum Kristen Dalton soon uncovers the terrifying truth. Every family who's ever lived in this house has died or disappeared. Oh no. All curses are final. On the way to a remote winter cabin, a group of friends stops at a roadside store with a hand painted warning: all items cursed. Curses lift at the time of sale. Oh, they laugh it off until one of them discovers an item in her bag she never paid for. As a storm traps them inside the cabin and the bodies start to pile up, paranormal takes hold and suspicion turns inward. Ooh, and that is Sometimes I Scare Myself by Geneva Rose. And like I said, that one comes out in September of this year, September 22nd. So mark your calendars, y'all. I cannot wait to read that. I think this is the first horror book I've read from that author. I'm used to her in thriller. Okay, next, I want to dive into some dark romances that give me the chills. They're romantic at the core, but they have spooky little sprinkles, like little spooky moments that are chilling, at least to me. So the first one I want to recommend, guys, I mean it. This is a dark romance. There are some very dark moments, and put your mental health first. This one is my special edition. It is on Kindle Unlimited, but this book is one that I absolutely adore. And I won it in a giveaway, which I'm grateful for because it's one book that I have never stopped thinking about. And that is Pen Pal by J.T. Gessinger. This one is about a female main character who thinks she lives in a haunted house after losing her husband. In a mysterious way, he passes away, and she thinks that he's haunting her. It's also a kind of decrepit. The house is falling apart. It's very gothic. And this guy ends up coming and he helps like try to fix her roof, and they end up kind of developing a spicy relationship. She's also getting letters from a secret admirer named Dante, who's like, I will wait for you. And she's like, who is this? So that's a lot happening in this story, but I promise it all connects. There's also someone watching her from afar in the rain, like in a coat, and it's very creepy. So she's handling grief. She's seeing things in the garden. She's wondering if she's being haunted by ghosts in a haunted house. She's having a spicy affair with this man she doesn't really know that much about. So it is a dark, spicy romance, but it also does have dark elements linked to grief and to haunting and to getting out of a dark situation in your life. And it has a very interesting ending. I hope that people like it. So that is Pen Pal by J.T. Gessinger. Check out the trigger warnings though, because this one, it's amazing. It just has some really dark elements. So I'm gonna read the back so you can get an even better vibe for it. The first letter arrived the day my husband was buried. It was postmarked from a state penitentiary, and it contained a single sentence. I'll wait forever if I have to. That's also on the sprayed edges of this book. I love it so much. It's so important. Okay. I'll wait forever if I have to. It was signed by Dante, a man I don't know. Out of a simple curiosity, I wrote back to ask him what exactly he was waiting for. He replied, You. I told a mystery man he had the wrong woman, and he said he didn't. I said we'd never met, but he said I was wrong. We went back and forth, exchanging letters every week that grew increasingly more intimate. Then one day the letters stopped. And when I found out why, it was too late. Dante was at my door, and nothing on earth could have prepared me for what happened next. This also has a bonus chapter, which I didn't know. So I will be reading that tonight. But this book, even though I read it a few years ago, it's still like I remember every single scene. I remember this one. And for the spicy girlies out there who do love dark romance, this also has primal play and it also has a very dominant MMC. So we love to see it. Okay. Next, the next dark romance that I want to mention is one that's from one of my favorite authors of all time. Everyone knows that I'm going to mention this book because I love this whole series. And that is Dead Man Walking by Gianna Darling. This is from the Fallen Men series, which is a motorcycle romance series. This follows Priest and Bia. This is also one of the larger books that I'm recommending, but I promise the audiobook is amazing and you will fly through this. You will absolutely fly through this. This also is a mixed media book. I recommend it as an audiobook because the female main character is a podcaster. She's a true crime podcaster. Her aesthetic is very pink and like bows and stuff, but on the inside, she's very analytical. She is really tough, but she just appears very soft. But there's a hardness to her, and she falls first, but he falls harder. This is perfect for Summerween because her love interest is like the mercenary of the group. He's very detached. Think like the Punisher vibes, and she is giving very much like cute, cozy librarian. She's very smart. And like I said, she's got her little true crime podcast and she's got a whole radio show. So there's that. But the tropes of Dead Men Walking are she falls first, he falls harder. There is religious trauma. There is a killer in the small town who's obsessed with the main character, and her love interest is trying to protect her and be there for her. There is a protective MMC, sunshine and grumpy combo. You have it's set during the summertime, and you also have the true crime podcaster, and then he's a biker. And all the bikers in the group fight for folks who cannot fight for themselves, and we love to see that. So let's read the back of Dead Man Walking. A killer, a criminal, a sociopath. The Irish enforcer of the Fallen Men MMC, or MC, I apologize, is everything good girls are taught to stay away from. Only I found myself drawn into his dark gravitational pull. I wanted to know what it would be like to walk beside the human personification of death, hold his hand, feel his kiss, and maybe even earn his undying love. But Priest McKenna is older, cold as ice, and notoriously unfeeling. So what are the odds that a dead man walking would come to life for little insignificant me? I know it sounds cringy, but dude, it's so good. This description does not do it justice. When a serial killer begins to target the women of Entrance, BC, this is set in Canada, the fallen suffers another terrible blow. Priest resolves to hunt down the killer himself. And when the murderer sets his eyes on me, my very own sociopath steps between me and certain death, thrusting us into intimacy I prayed we would never recover from. This book is spicy. The whole series is spicy. And it does have taboo elements, but it is amazing. And I highly recommend checking it out. Do check the trigger warnings, because like I said, this is a dark romance. Okay, my last book is recommendation. I have one that is dark romance, and I have two that I just want to recommend because they're amazing. My last dark romance in a scary setting is Scary in Love by Hannah June Smith. I had her on the podcast last year. She's the sweetest person in the entire world. So this one is about a scare actor, and it's set during like a small town in autumn. And he had a generational home that he inherits, and he ends up. It was already kind of creepy and decrepit before, so he decides to make it into a haunted house for October. And his the female main character loves being scared, so she ends up going with some friends, and like the guy she was on a blind date with ends up ditching her because he gets scared, and she ends up seeing one of the scare actors and like kind of catching feelings for him. We also have curvy representation. The female main character is on the curvier side, which we love to see. It is spicy and sweet. There are certain moments that are very heated, like he builds scary scenes in the haunted house for her so she can have her own little like haunted mansion experience. But some of those scary situations like that he set up for her were scary to me, but also kind of hot. So interesting combination. Holly did a great job with this one. He is also like the main character in the story. The way the story ends is a little bit paranormal in a cute way, and I absolutely love it. So, Scary in Love by Hannah June Smith is amazing, and I think it is on Kindle Unlimited. It's so good. My last two books I want to mention are books that I've been meaning to read for a while. One I've been meaning to read, one I absolutely loved. And I think that if you like Scream, you should read this because it'll give you a lot of facts about Scream. So, this is nonfiction, and that is Your Favorite Scary Movie. This is How Scream Films Rewrite the Rules of Horror by Ashley Collins. So, this book actually tells you about how Scream came to be, how the screenplay came to be, the original title, how they got the cast together, as well as the sequels and like what a final girl really means. So, this is a really, really good nonfiction kind of like fun facts about Scream. And it was amazing. The author also got to interview a lot of the authors or the actors, and you get a lot of facts about Scream, which I thought was really, really cool. So, Your Favorite Scary Movie by Ashley Collins was so amazing. My last one is a book that I want to read this Summerween. It is a little bit chunkier, but I do want to get into it. And that is The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I can't wait to read this. I know that this is linked to vampires, and I want to say that this is going to be a Summerween experience because Stephen Graham Jones builds very beautiful, interesting characters. I wasn't a huge fan of Night of the Living Mannequins, but I enjoyed learning about the characters and I enjoyed the pacing. So I'm excited to give the Buffalo Hunter a chance because I have heard that the characters in the story are very memorable and I love a good vampire tale. So I'm excited to read this. So those are my Summerween books. The book stack is massive. But for the folks who are listening, please, the entire list of all these books is in the show notes below. Enjoy these recommendations. Read all the books of Summerween. Like this on YouTube. Follow on YouTube and on Spotify. Subscribe and have an absolutely wonderful day. And stay spooky, y'all. Bye.